I'm that girl who has friends who are currently experiencing the old earth, and it's getting real. It's getting very, very real. Welcome, my friend. Should we call you friend or do you want to have a name?
Friend sounds great. Thanks.
Well, I am very privileged because not only is this friend a gift to humanity beyond, we've done, I think, 2 sessions, 3 sessions now, I can't remember. And you suddenly just came on the scenes. You devoured Mastering Old Earth like a pro. You devoured Mastering Human like a pro. And we were meant to catch up on 14th of February, Valentine's Day, because I love you. And we were being sent a task to talk to each other in a conscious mind conversation, which was given to us by our teams. Thank you. And it was about sharing emotions and how to, uh, like, sort of scrapbook on each page, each emotion. How does it feel to then work our way out through it back to love? And we were all prepared for it. And then what happened to you, my friend?
Then we had what's called a cyclone come through my region. Very unfortunate. Yeah, it felt like the end of days. It's the only way I can describe it. It felt like the end of days. Yeah, it was such an amazing experience, and it's taking me this 2 weeks to find my balance again. It's been very interesting.
Hmm.
Very interesting.
So I couldn't hear from you
But,
for a few days. And
yeah, I had no power for 7 days. No power, no texting for 5. I was isolated. Very interesting.
I could feel you, I could feel you tapping into me as I was tapping into you. And I was a little bit scared to feel into, does she have a body? um, but I could, because I was like, neither what I'm feeling into you, definitely you would not be feeling these things if you didn't have a body and if you'd already shifted. But I was very aware that there are souls exiting, lots of them. And I couldn't distinguish between how many humans and how many animals were being uplifted in your region at that time.
Yeah, and the thing was too that it wasn't just like a 2 hour event or a 6 hour event of the cyclone. It was the days after that actually were the more damaging than the actual cyclone itself. It was the water, it was the flooding, it was the slow movement that's appeared slow and suddenly came on quick, and yet we didn't know. None of us knew where it was going, where it was coming from, how big it was. Um,
Mm.
it was interesting to wake up the next day after the cyclone and think, wow, well, that was a reasonable amount of wind, and yeah, it was a bit scary, and the day feels good. I think the sun was out. Everything was calm and quiet. Uh, Blessed to be here, sending love to everybody, feeling, hey, we did this. We actually got through this together. This feels really good. And being able to send texts to people and go, hey, you're good, everybody's good, connect with everybody, and then wham, power went out, cell phone went out, utter silence. And it was like, what is going on? What what is happening? Oh, it's just a little blip. It was really unusual for the cell phones to go out. I never had that happen before. And then it was checking your local community, keeping your buoyancy up, thinking, hey, I've got this, I'm prepared for this, I've got everything I need, I've got my survival kit, I'm feeling balanced, I'm feeling good. I'm just going to go check the neighbours, I'm just going to walk around. And it was really nice to kind of feel that I was in a position that I could help others, because so many people just weren't prepared for nothing to happen. Um, and then it was the story started, and the rumours started, and I went to a local civil defence centre to find out some information, and the stories got horrific, and the fear grew, and the bewilderment and the loss and the grief from everybody was overwhelming. It was just simply overwhelming. You didn't know you just felt like you were hitting with waves and waves, and it just got stronger and stronger, and you're thinking, holy shit, what the hell is happening? It's like the apocalypse. When is this going to stop? How bad is this going to get? You know, the cell phone started to go off, and it was like, evacuate, evacuate. It's like, what? Evacuate where to? Where do you go? Is it coming from the left? Is it coming from the right? What's happening? It was, it felt powerless. And it was a big lesson for me that I needed to be responsible for myself and I needed to be responsible for others. And it was scary. And I was so scared. And I wanted to cry and I wanted to curl into a ball. And it's like, don't do it, Trace. You're just going to have to move on. You know, you're going to have to go and do what you've got to do. So it was grounding and feeling Mother Earth's pain at the same time. She was, the animals, the plants, everything was just weeping. It was just overwhelming. It really was. The complete and utter silence. The world just went quiet. Um, yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I wrote some notes because it was just, and it was like, how do I help? How do I help practically? And it was really interesting that I went to the practical things, the old practical 3D stuff, before I went back to the 5D stuff. And I'd try to go to the 5D stuff and I'd whip in there and I'd be dragged back out. And I'd try again and you'd be dragged back out. And it was very hard to stay in 5D. It was very hard to feel everything's for a reason, everything's fine, everything's as it should be, this is okay. And I knew that in my head, but I couldn't get there in my heart. It
Yeah.
was really, it was tough. It was really tough, not knowing how long it was going to go for, whether my friends were safe. Um, I was, like I say, I was blessed that I was prepared on a practical level, that I had a plan, I knew what to do, I had everything I needed here, I could eat, I could be safe and dry. Um, yeah, and then I could lock my doors at night because things got ugly. Things got ugly in the streets. Supermarkets weren't open. People didn't know where to go. There was no plan from the council, from the local authorities, or the government about if this happens, we'll be letting people know this happened. You go here to find information. There was no information. There was no real information apart from the stories that you were hearing from the survivors. Um, and it was just, you just kept falling into fear. You couldn't sleep. The helicopters were over all the time. It was like being in a war zone. And I was blessed. I was safe. I had everything I needed. I just didn't know where my friends were. I didn't know where my family was. You couldn't drive anywhere. You couldn't go anywhere. You had to be by walking. It was just that whole scariness. But what started to shine through was community. You didn't see the government. You didn't see local authorities. Didn't see police. Didn't see anything like that. You saw people helping people. You saw people sharing what little they had. You saw people just hugging each other and just letting people talk. It was, that was the unity and the compassion and the sense of community was great. It's what kept us going. It really is what kept us going. The flip side of the lack of communication from government, anything that the local authorities tried to organise, it didn't follow. There was nobody willing to take accountability, nobody willing to stand up, no police anywhere. So it was just basically people helping people. I think it got to about day 5 and I walked 6 Ks, I think it was, to get find a friend who had power to get my cell phone charged because the cell phones had started up again, but nobody had any power, so we still couldn't communicate. But yeah, the sense of these waves of grief and loss, and like you say, there was the numbers they said that passed, the souls that left. It was thousands. All I can say is it felt like thousands. It felt like just this massive wave of people leaving over, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. It was just the you could feel the release, but you also sense the grief of the moment of their passing and the people that they left behind, and it was just on a mass scale. I don't believe the numbers that they've told. Um, and now on the other side of it, we've got power, most of us. We've got communications to most people, and we're left to seeing the real truth of what everybody else saw, of what was really going on. We had no idea how bad it was, um, how widespread it was, because we had no communication. And now we're left looking at these pictures, and it feels like an apocalypse has been through. I haven't been to any of the damaged places. I have chosen instead to volunteer in other ways. But I've also felt now, especially now, that my role is to be as calm and as loving as I possibly can be, to be centered and to send as much love as I can, and to help where I can, when I can, but not put myself in positions that will completely undo my sense of calm, because I feel that that's the most important thing for me right now. Without being selfish, I need to look after me so that I can help others. If I don't look after myself, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Remind me of your board that you wrote when you read Mastering Human, where you had these epiphanies and you did that as a chalkboard and those key words.
Yes, it was.
What was it, my friend?
Yeah, it was forgiveness. So I'm just actually going to open it up. Sorry, wait a second. The other thing that blew me away, there's a few things that blew me away. It was the fact that I'd had a session with you earlier and I said the water's coming from the south.
Mm.
And that's exactly what happened. The realization that the day before the flood, I had looked at buying a house in one of those areas that was completely munted. It's gone. The house is gone. There's just nothing there. And yet here was I looking at the day before, looking at buying it. All the other places that I'd looked at, all the other areas that I'd been considering moving to, all gone. It's like I was being told, you can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. You've got to stay where you are. So I'm just looking for my board. Wait a second.
Yeah, because your session was really shockingly profound, and they talked about smart cities, they talked about governments, I mean, there was so much information in your personal session, and they kind of like dropped all these like truth bombs on us, and then they were like, but for homework, ladies, talk about emotions and how to empower yourself and identify all the little emotions that one has.
Yes, and that was it, because I've been saying to you that I felt that I've been spending too much time in the lower emotions, and it's like, why am I in them? What does it feel like? What am I doing to transmute them? And then suddenly, which frankly felt like I was almost living in them, and it was like trying to get yourself out and get back to that place of calm again, and you fall into fear, you'd fall um, um, into grief, you'd fall into all these lower emotions. And I thought, hold on, I thought I'd dealt with all of this stuff, and you just fell so far into them, and you knew that basically you couldn't live in them, because you had to be practical and you had to move forward and you had to help others. But they they were like rubber bands. You just kept flinging yourself back into them. It was bizarre. So I'm just going to go to my.
And definitely what we're having to feel is all of this density to then find out inner peace again, which you can do. But I mean, I know you would prefer, and you naturally are in a much more higher dimensional philosophy and perspective living. In your normal days, you're phenomenal. You're in a very, very advanced soul. And I know that. And to know that you are being a worker in density, transmuting all this energy to keep stable and calm and process this for the collective consciousness.
Yeah, that is what it felt like. And I felt like I was on a checklist. This experience has to happen. This experience has to happen. Triggered all over the place. Little things that I would never expected to happen happened.
Tell me one of them.
I went to a cafe last week. I went to a cafe with a girlfriend. I'd finally managed to catch up with her. I said, let's go do something normal. Let's go have a coffee. Let's just go and do something normal for an hour. And I walked in there, and there was this young lady at the table next door to me, and I thought, I don't think I've seen you before or whatever. And she just looked devastated. She just looked devastated. So I walked up and said, honey, are you okay? Are you okay? And she's like, no. And I said, well, tell me about it. Do you want to talk about it? So we had a bit of a discussion, and I didn't think anything more of it. She went away feeling at least that someone was willing to listen to her, that someone cared. We didn't exchange names or numbers or anything like that. It didn't matter. It was just about the connection. It was about seeing the soul that needed to just be seen. And it turned out that it was a friend of someone that I know. And I got a text from that person that I know going, stay away from her. She's awful. And they used some pretty strong language. And it was like, hold on, why is this coming from you? What's this all about? Here am I. I don't care who the person was. I don't care what they've done. They needed a hand at that time. They just needed somebody to see them. And it was quite triggering for me that this person had even sent this text to me and was warning me away. And I just decided, actually, nah, I don't care what you think. In that moment, that person needed me, and I could give them what they needed. Um, and that's it. But it was just interesting that that person had even felt the need to send me that text and go, stay away from that person. And they didn't just send one text; they sent about 5 texts to say stay away, and use some very long, strong language about this person.
Wow. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, yeah, it was like, whoa, you're not sitting in here. You're sitting somewhere else in the country. No idea what it's been like for everybody who doesn't matter how little or much you were affected by the storm and the flooding and everything. Everybody has affected. Everybody has felt the fear. Everybody has gone into that place. Everybody has felt the unknown. The fear of the unknown was huge. And that was just one example. I can give you another example. I brought some people home on the first night from the Civil Defence Centre because they had nowhere to go. They were completely half their family, the mother, and I had the mother and her young children with her. She had 2 other younger children and her husband over at the other side of the bridges, and the bridges were all down. She couldn't get home, so I brought them home here, and they spent the night at my place, and I did what I could to make them comfortable. And the mother was in agony being away from her babies. And then one of the children said to me, oh, Mum's been stealing everywhere, eh? I'm thinking, oh, okay. So I've welcomed you into my home, and now I'm a little bit nervous. And it was like, well, I'm not tossing you out. It's an awful situation. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how badly the bridges are out. We don't know whether all the bridges are out or whether all we know is that you can't go home. So you need to stay here. But it was quite a triggering evening. And I've got to be honest, I was nervous and I didn't sleep, but I still wouldn't have turned them away. Still give them what they need, even though I was feeling very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference between looting versus, for survival versus, unhealed inner issues and being a kleptomaniac. So what
Yeah,
is it? What are we dealing with today, my friend? Because this is the time to, look on that. But, I guess, everyone's going to do something for survival. And if this is going to make you feel comfortable, keeping, I want to say, a memento of your home because she wants to remember this kind lady who embraced her in her time of need. Hopefully she stole a book that's one of ours.
exactly. And it got to the stage where like I was able to say, hey, look, it's only stuff. It's only this material stuff. This whole material stuff didn't mean a thing, and the whole thing, it was just like, well, I might have the stuff, but if somebody needs it, they can have it. It did feel like that.
Yeah.
It was just the fact of the
Violating.
honesty of it.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like,
But
and so this is where, sorry, I know I'm not trying to dismiss your feelings. It would have felt fucking violating, that's for sure, to be, someone shopping in your own home. And to, like, I'm thinking, if I was in the situation and, a child confessed to me about its parents' things, I can see so many significant purposes for, praising that child for saying big truth, and to be able
Mm.
to, let's see why mum's doing this. Is it because she's trying to help you, or what's going on there for her? Like, I mean, fucking teachable moments, I can see 1,000 of them. But that confrontation with the mother to say, you know, you can have anything that I have. What can I help you with? Instead of this, I may have a better something. Be open and honest in a time where everyone's highly sensitive and highly vulnerable, but also highly honest.
Yeah, and that you're right. And I think it's easy when you look back now to say I could have done
Of
that better.
course, of course.
They still went away. They had no idea that I even felt that way because it was my issue to deal with, not theirs. And I didn't confront them, and I just basically wanted to send them love. And honestly, I really did try to make sure that they were as comfortable as they could be in the circumstances, because it was such a weird time, and that we all just felt um, we felt rootless. We felt there was no, I don't quite even know how to describe it. There was just this was this sense of unknown everywhere, and there was no idea about what was going to be in the next 10 minutes. Were we going to get another civil defence thing? What was going on? It was this whole, the fear was huge. I mean, I saw these so many old people when they evacuated a retirement village in a rest home, and they put them all on the flatbed of a truck, and they took them down to the civil defence thing, and they set them in the dark, and they didn't talk to them. They just left them there in the dark. There was this room full of these bewildered older people who were going, but it's afternoon tea time, where's my cuppa? They were
Yeah.
just so, half of them had dementia. It was just,
Oh my God.
yeah, you just, and then, people would arrive with the different stories and things, but it was just, it
It's a
was really interesting for me to be alone. There was, um, it wasn't like having a partner or children or anything. I was just responsible for myself. So I felt that I needed to get out there and help others, because that also gave me a sense of purpose and a sense of grounding. And because I had stuff that I could share, batteries went this way, gas bottles went that way, cash went that way. I had the stuff so I was able to help others. And it wasn't the fact that I've got heaps, it was just the fact that I was prepared.
mm,
Um, but I wonder what it would have been, how much scarier it was for that poor woman who had two children here and two children over the other side, no way of communicating with her husband to even say that they were alive, not knowing what was going on at home with her babies.
stressful. And isn't this a beautiful thing? Like, I mean, we can judge, people all day long, but when it comes to holding and housing and loving someone, even if they are not well trained in terms of stealing, property or whatever, whatever, whatever. I mean, that's their own an issue and stuff. But the fact that you could be there for her, love her, and my
She was so brave. I mean, she was able to hold it together in front of her two daughters. And I just think, wow, you know?
but you sort of, you go into that survival mode where you just have to, because you think, if I break down now, I'm never going to be able to stop crying.
Mm, yeah.
For I'm feeling into this for you because I want to give you this perspective, and I sort of feel like you have always been so
You've
loving,
always been so loving.
and you've always been so generous and kind with everything you do, and you always do for others. And I know that sometimes people have taken the piss with that, and have taken it to beyond, beyond, beyond. And I'm just kind of wondering what the significance and purpose of you knowing that this woman, she's not trying to violate you, but she's taking comfort from you. And that still feels like it's a violation of you. Like, I would give it to you, just ask. But there are some people who are so used to their routines of stealing or lying or just trying to be strong and never break down and be tapped into their emotions. I mean, we can explore this in private session. Sorry. I am hearing all of this, I'm feeling all of this. It is overwhelming. The intensity of all the extreme emotions are all there to play with, aren't they? They are all there ready to unpack and explore and heal from, because you're feeling it all, because I'm feeling it all, just being there with you now. It's very fucking heavy. Like my chest is hard. Like, oh, so this is
It's interesting though, because it does feel like this, for me personally, and for this region, it feels like the start of the chaos, the start of the need to be centered and balanced as much as you can. And on the days that you can't, and that's what I do, is I go and find something. I went and gardened in the rain the other day because more rain was coming. We didn't know what was happening, and I needed to feel connected and grounded. So I went and gardened under a big umbrella, just to connect. And it's doing those little things, even if it only lasts for the feeling only lasts for 20 minutes. It's like do it and then do it again, do something else. Just keep finding those things that bring you back to yourself, bring you back to your center, back to gratefulness and feeling blessed, and just being able to see the big picture, that this is just a game, that this is just a game, and that we will get through this. Our souls are going to get through this.
absolutely, this is your old earth experience, and the shift was your was that event. Well, there has to be lots of disasters that would trigger communities, and it can be just a family losing one family member, or it can be like you having your whole community and beyond, many neighboring communities, be absolutely physically destroyed and damaged in terms of properties, and you just, it's crippling. And I know this is well occurring for you, in your region. I know in Nelson they had a huge flood, and a lot of homes got red sticketed or whatever, uninhabitable anymore. And the government's going to buy out those homes with no negotiation. Then I know down below them, near Hokitika, the government had gifted a whole lot of land to somewhere, and so all of the home owners were given letters to say that legally they are now reclaiming your property, and they're going to pay you out. There's no negotiations. Of course, people are going to take it to court, but very big things like this are occurring all around our country and beyond, many other countries. And I know that many of us are sort of expecting to see bigger events elsewhere, and that's going to impact us. But it's really these smaller events that are actually truly deeply impacting us that's going to, definitely the starting point of what we would call the old earth. And the grand awakening for you guys is realizing, where is your governments? Where is the civil service? Where is the support that we have paid for infrastructures and systems that are supposed to be prepared for this? It's not the first time that this area has been well flooded. It was nearly 100 years ago that it had the same
Yes.
a thing happen, and they still rebuilt on that land. And now, as an outsider who couldn't get much information or intel on the inside officially, all my senses were there. But on the outside, the government's just telling everyone not to send anything practical, because that's just going to bother and clutter the roads. We just need to send money to the charities and trust that the government's going to pay for people who don't have insurance. So don't worry, they're fine. Okay, just so keep going, keep going.
And what people need is, they need people on the grounds. They need people to come in here to help move the silt, to help to clear the land, to help find the precious things in the house, and to provide food and practical. It's come down to the practical helping, and that's what the communities are doing. There's been a lot of people come in from out of the region, and are here doing the mahi, and there's a lot of people that are local that are also out there doing the stuff, and doing what you can. And it's like, it does come back to the stuff doesn't matter, but the sense of helping, the sense of community, the sense of seeing another soul is what it's all about. It really is. It's like, I know I've learned so much from this about if my house burnt down tomorrow, I really, I don't care. It's just stuff. What matters to me is my connection with people. It's
Mm.
how I see others, how I help others, and how others help me. How I allow the helping. That can be hard too, to allow people to help you and not think you have to do it all yourself.
Mm. Like the woman at the cafe, you asked her how she was doing, and she actually answered honestly. And
Honest, honesty goes a huge way at the moment. I'm having so many honest conversations,
mm,
and I say them with love, and it's like, but there's no attachment. You can take it how you want. I'm not being rude, but I'm going to tell you how I honestly feel or how I think things could work. Um, and you can do with it what you will.
so for all those people that have shifted, um, yeah, it's quite nice exits for them because they were sleeping. Most of them were sleeping when and for people who are not aware, who are like, what are they even talking about? What event? This big rain, cyclone, whatever you want to call it, but this big wave, this big rising of water came, and then there are speculations that they opened up a dam and emptied an entire dam onto the community. And they also, there's gossip about a lot of trees had been felled, but they didn't pick up the branches and the small tree, like the small branches of trees that just became super dangerous because when you add a lot of water from the dam or from this rain or whatever, then the momentum of it's quite a heavy. And people were reporting saying that the water, um, it was so rapid from basically the water is coming into the house to the water is up over your ceiling. And for some people who had, 3-story houses, they had to then climb out the top window and be on their roof because the water had climbed up 3 levels. So you see photos where there is big trucks and they're covered in this silt and this mud and this whatever. And I saw footage of, some sheep that were in very tall trees that had drowned and they were stuck up there. And it's just, I mean, it's horrific. And we
Yeah.
know that we're
And to
supposed to be prepared for everything. They tell us be prepared for everything, they say. And we're like, oh, yep, that's cool, we can. And then something happens. And then we're like, oh, no, not prepared for that emotionally.
No, and that was the thing is that we thought, oh, you will have a bit of rain and we'll have a little bit of flooding or whatever. I mean, when the rivers broke their dams, and three of them did, through their banks, um, they went over a kilometre each way. And some of those, the people that were stuck between two of those, they had no hope.
Yeah.
They just had, it was just, we weren't prepared for any of this. And I know that you can never be prepared for everything. But there was, yeah, so many souls that exited that I'm just grateful that they went the way that they did, and they feel at me to be joyous.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And you hear the people trying to get their families rescued where they know that they were stuck and that they weren't able to because they had elderly, they had children, they had big pets and animals, and they were stuck on their roofs and they were calling their friends and family saying, help us, help us, help us. We can't do anything. And the water is really fast. And they're hearing people, that they're very stressed. And lots of the community tried to come and help them, but they got turned back by the police. The police were
Yes.
actively stopping rescues. The police were not allowing people to go directly to someone's home, knowing that there's elderly people, there's children, there is animals, there are stressed people, and they've been exposed to really horrific scenes, stuck on their roofs of their houses. Now we know this has happened in Australia, and we know what happened with that. The government then tried to buy back all that land, and it's not accidents that you guys are in the fruit bowl of New Zealand.
Yeah.
This is a very, very, very luscious very sought after area of amazing vineyards, amazing fruit and vegetables, amazing everything, like world standard stuff that we export, as well as we get kind of the second grade stuff and think we're fancy.
Yep.
And we love going there and traveling there. And the fact that these are remote people, and who's counting you? Who's counting you if you haven't checked in? If you don't catch up with social circles, who's coming to your door to check in to see that you're not?
And that's it. And that's it. It's been, I know that some of the affected areas have, but they don't know where everybody is. They really don't. And some of these places are really remote. I've got some friends that are out up country, and they've got no bridge. They're not getting any fly-ins. They're not getting anything. They have to be self-sufficient because they're not getting anything. So who knows they're there? Who's asking the question about how safe are you? What's happening?
And they've absolutely been cut off from the mainland. And then there's people that have traveled to try and help others, and then they've got stuck. And so, as soon as your cell phone goes, you sort of assume you can prepare and you have all these survival things at home. But what if you're not in your home? What if you've traveled to support others and then realize the significance of days without power?
With Yeah, it's like, one of the tools I've been using to ground myself and center myself is that, using the YouTube channel, using the meditations, listening to things, listening to podcasts, listening to things that help ground me, center me, help me to meditate. When you can't do any of that, you've got to do it on your own, and it's a lot tougher than you think. It's really hard to kind of
Yeah.
take the time when you've got to be concentrating. Hold on, I've got to make sure that I've eaten before it gets dark, because after that I've only got my torch, and that battery's starting to get low, and I don't know how long I'm going to be before I can get another battery. So you don't have the luxury of time and the luxury of like I say, those cell phones and power, and it's very it's really hard to keep your center. It's really hard to keep your energy high and to understand and be in that higher thought pattern. It
Mm.
really is.
And
High frequency is really difficult.
I could feel into you, and it was like your sense of time for your one day felt like a month for me. Easy
Yeah.
a month. Like it was every minute was counting for you, because there was you're on the stream high alert, and so
Yes.
it's very draining. And I think, again, you are a very grounded, very advanced soul who is very balanced. And I I'm hearing this, and I'm knowing how well you are at maintaining yourself and being empowered. And I know you've just prepared yourself with all of those books and the sessions that we've done and all the other stuff you've done, throughout all your life, to be this powerhouse. And I'm hearing from you say it's still a challenge, not because you're a dum dum and not because you don't know what's happening, but because you're in the extremity of chaos. Like, oh, I just
I,
am.
I, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was going to say, I felt like I was failing. I felt like I was failing. My vibration wasn't high enough, even though I tried little things. I felt like I was failing. And it's only been in retrospect I can look back and go, hey, you did what you could, and you're back now. You're feeling good, you're feeling balanced, you're more able to you I'm in a much better place. But at the time, all I could think was I'm failing at my task, and I'm not helping as many people, and I'm not grounded. But it was the realization that I had to look after myself so that I could help others. And that was the key for me, was that as soon as I could get myself balanced, as soon as I could have those moments where I felt good, it was easy to help others people. But it was a struggle if I wasn't balanced myself.
Oh my God, that hurts me so much, because you don't fail at anything. You really don't. And I believe you. You're owning your experience. And oh my gosh, that's the worst, because that just naturally sort of perpetuates the density, doesn't it? When you just feel like
Yep.
nothing you can do, and it's like you're going down this very dark, seductive tunnel of hell that you're placing emotionally, mentally. And like, I think this is a really good reminder for everyone who's listening, who knows it's coming. It's unavoidable. if you're listening to this, as chances are this is them trying to remind you this is serious, this is real, this isn't just entertainment, what we're talking about in terms of the shift and being on the old earth and all these experiences to trigger people. We know, and we've heard just in this conversation today, the beautiful connections of unity and communities coming together through tragedy. It's hideous that it has to get to this point to that have that result, but this is the only other way that our guides and collectives can see us being motivated to truly knock on our neighbors' doors and say, can we hug you? How are you doing? What is going on? What can I do for you today?
And I'm not a social person. I'm quite happy to be isolated. Well, not isolated. I'm quite happy to live my own little life, my own little world, and not communicate with a lot of people. But I felt the need to be out there communicating and like I say, talking to people. It required bravery to go and knock on neighbours' doors that I didn't really know and go, hey, are you okay? Is there anything you need? Because I've got some stuff at home. Um, but by being honest and open and talking to people when you had the chance, I feel I have changed so much. I just feel like a different person from what I was 3 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, because this experience that you've perceived has been, like, what is it? How many weeks is it? And if I am saying that one of your days is equivalent of one of my months, if not more, like it's been a very big journey for you, very big for
Yeah.
everyone. And I love the fact that you're embracing and empowering yourself through being a little bit shy to then reach out to others. And because you're allowed to, it's not because you want a cup of sugar, you're actually wanting to give them a cup of your love, a cup of your compassion, a cup of your time. Like you're giving them the most valuable things. And it's not toxic sugar. It's about, sweet love and compassion and consideration and caring. And you are so kind, and you are so, you're just so, I want to say, motherly in your compassion and your smile and in your warmth. Like, when you look at someone, when you look at me, and you just read and ooze compassion. And how many times have I like fully opened up to you about, my day when you asked me, because you truly ask and truly care to listen. And it's not just this generic, oh, how are you going today? Like, you actually have this magical fucking key which breaks down everyone's walls, and you go deep in and you see everyone's souls and you invite them to come out and share. That is a gift.
Thank you. I'm learning. I'm learning. And that's what it's all about, And I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful that I've been through this experience. I do not want to forget a single thing that I've learned. And I'm going to be writing some stuff down. I've jotted some notes, but I want to write a really good story about how I felt and how I think, because I want to never, ever forget what I've learned, because it's so important and it's going to stand me in good stead.
Well, what has already been learned from your experiences is at a conscious collective level for all. It's already been done, it's already been recorded, and it's already been implemented and collected for those guides to be able to help assist others to be able to empower themselves through it. And you may be, I don't want to say this, you may be the first monkey that is going through this, but the 100th monkey, but after your ripple effect of healing and empowerment, they're going to get faster. It's not going to be as intensive for them as such, because at a collective level we're all needing to learn this and experience this, but from different aspects. You're doing it hard, you're doing it really intensively, given the fact you must be thinking in the back of your mind, fuck, this is it, this is old earth, this is it, when are we shifting now? I want to go to new earth, thank you, now this feels like shit.
Absolutely. And that was it. It was like end of times. Okay, so this is the shift that I knew that was coming. So this is it for me. I'm leaving this planet. Right, okay. So what's coming to get me? Is it another wave? What's happening? Exactly that. And yet here I am. I'm still here.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah, it is. It's like I'm prepared. I literally prepared myself and go, okay, well, if this is it, then I'm at peace with this. All good. I hope that I've done enough in this life, and that I did what I intended to do. But I'll find out when I do my assessment afterwards. So bring it on, really.
And then, and I'm just preparing you, if you haven't already gone through this phase of, well, why haven't I graduated? What is wrong with me? And you can go into that sort of frustration of, well, why am I still here? And other people who didn't even do what seems could be their inner work. Like, I've done all my inner work. I've done all my stuff. Like, you can become very, not you, sorry, but I know in general, even if someone dies in a family, like in a family situation, but they were asleep. They didn't know about the crimes against humanity. They didn't know about the shift. Like, I know that all. How come I haven't gone? Why didn't they go? And I'm still here. And then they get angry about still being here. And then they sort of get jealous that someone has exited before like, that is still real and valid emotional journey to go through, unfortunately. So have you had any of that where you sort of like, well, why am I still here?
What I have, and actually what I wrote down was like, so what now? So now I feel like I've got a whole complete blank slate. What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to go? What did I wrote down? Something like, where am I to go? What am I to do? What am I to say and to whom? It's like, come on, bring it on. So you've taken me through all that. So what else do you want me to do?
Mm,
Really, it's where I'm at now. I've got this big blank slate in front of me and I can't see hide nor hair. And there's got to be, I'm not jealous that I'm not gone. Uh, Probably a little bit pissed off, to be honest. Really, no, in all honesty, it's like, what else? What else do you
mm.
want?
Yeah.
So so tell me now. Be honest. Don't be shy. Bring it on. But don't leave me in the dark.
My friend, honestly, I love it. You're amazing. And this conversation is going to be a powerhouse for so many who really truly want to be actively motivated and prepared at all aspects and stuff that they may not have even considered. So, just you sharing your journey is profound. And you know, my frustration with you is also about how, and this is part of the Grand Awakening, right? Those people that trusted the government would have been there to be saving them and protecting them and all this sort of stuff. And then the systems are blocking you to be rescued. The systems are blocking you
Mm.
from being able to then find somewhere else to go to be safe and secure. And the systems are now trying to buy your property at below what would your property value just a year ago. It's very, very, very bottom pricing now. I mean, like if you were just beloved of the government and loved all their systems and loved everything about the way of life here, um, for you to be impacted by this, not want to be rescued, not being considered about, your insurance is not going to cover you, but the government's going to save you with a pathetic amount. And no, it's not about money, but when you're in your 50s or whatever, not you, but when you're trying to build yourself up and you've just gone through this trauma and then the government's going to take your land from you, to help you, you can only but empower yourself to grow and awaken to the agendas at that point.
Exactly that. To me, it feels like a two-sided coin. I could see that it was necessary for the government to behave the way they did and the local authorities and things to behave the way they did because it enabled the community to come together. So there was a reason that, and you can't have light without dark. The dark had to be there to create the light to wake up. And I can totally see that. From a spiritual level, it just feels so right, and I can see the big picture, and I'm really comfortable with that. Practically, it's like, but how am I going to live? How am I going to put food on the table? That's the thing that people are going to do. If we're having this spiritual experience, everything's all sweet, but we're also having this 3D experience. How do we actually function in the 3D experience when everything's been taken away?
Mm,
That's
absolutely.
okay. It's like it's the whole mirror. You've got two arms, and one's leading you off in one direction, the other's leading you in the other direction, and you're kind of stuck.
Mm. And so physically, practically, what have you lost and what have you gained? And I mean, and you can answer that for yourself. What you've lost, I feel like what you've gained is a real community that shows that they've got each other's backs. that they know deeply what fear and terror feels like, and that they know what love and compassion feels like, and unity. And that is a huge gain, which humanity is very poor in and at normally.
Totally agree. And it's, I mean, the fact is that all I need to do is just to is just to look out in my community, and I just feel love. I just feel like it doesn't matter who I am or what I am, or what status or anything like that. Everybody is the same, and that everybody um, collectively wants to help each other, and that's huge. And even though we've had the so-called violence that's been going on and stuff like this, what once again, flip side of that is communities got together, they're looking after each other. There's so much community stuff going on that we will be okay, that we'll be okay. It's going to be a better place than it was before.
Now, I heard that the media was saying that this was gangs, but I also heard from truthers saying this is paid Antifa.
I think it's both. I think it's both. I mean, they do a great show of putting the Eagle helicopter up every night that goes for all friggin' nights you can't sleep, which is really interesting. But I do believe it's both. It's
That,
definitely both.
that in itself is psychology, like warfare, isn't it? That whole not letting you sleep. What is that
Yeah,
called?
psychological warfare.
It's hideous.
Yeah,
And so they're going to make decisions where they are just going to remove everyone from their homes to then, direct you all with love and care and compassion, with their wise authority to these smart cities, as if that was just a nice, convenient situation.
yeah. Uh, that's the thing is when you look big, the playbook is pretty easy to see, isn't it?
I know it's kind of cute.
But so many people don't want to look at that. They still think it's a theory and still think that they can trust the government. And especially the older people, they're the ones I feel for, is that they've trusted everybody their entire life.
Yeah, paid all the
And
taxes. They've
yeah,
paid
and
their taxes. They've voted for all
they're,
the people.
yeah, they're bewildered. They're like, but what do you mean? Hold on,
It's
you
awful.
can't do that. Yeah, it is. It's just, yeah.
But
And you can
like
see
if it's
give up.
taken if it's taken you 70 years to awaken, it's taken you 70 years to awaken. you know um and I sort of think, bless those people who are dementia chosen, because they're just physically here and not really spiritually here, as such, as they're kind of out of the body more than in.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be, I hope that my biggest hope is that everybody will continue with the open-heartedness that we've had, and that we will continue with community, and that we won't just try and get back to so-called normal, because there is no normal. That this
Yeah.
is the start of the chaos, and
Mm.
we have to look at what's really important.
I mean, and the chaos really started 2020, and that
Yeah,
this playbook has continued on. And then, of course, I know you want all the attention and support and all the community and all of the fundraising, which has been beautiful for your region. And it's a huge region. It's not just a little community. This has impacted, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of homes. I'm not too sure the states or the numbers, because, who can really trust any numbers, really. Channel for it yourselves, interns are free. But it's waiting now for the next thing to come, that's going to distract people, that's going to be even more tragic. And I know people in New Zealand are saying, well, we've got train systems, when is our turn to have a tragic train system collapse, fire, spill, poison, toxin? And I'm just sort of thinking, well, if it was going to be that play for us, South Island, that's a very large area, and they probably are
mm,
wanting to push people, even though there is lots of little things that have happened that aren't taking much mainstream coverage. And if you're not a big social person advocate, because you can't even speak the truth, people were
no,
sharing videos about their homes being flooded, and Facebook was censoring it and banning and pausing their accounts.
yeah,
So
yeah. And that's
why?
the thing is, it's really interesting that the truth seekers are shut down, and it's easy to, like I say, once again, to look at the big agenda and go, hey, look, we can see that that there is a playbook that they're playing from, but it doesn't change the reality of it happening,
I know.
and the reality is what we have to live with, and that's the tough bit.
And that's what makes me think, when are people going to start getting so angry that they'll fight the system?
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm there.
Oh, I could see you. You'd be fantastic. Do you got some sort of commando pants and some
Oh my goodness, you've seen me. Yep, I'm all good.
but that's what I saw in Parliament grounds with the protests. It was people like us who were awoken to and saw the agendas and saw how much it had harmed people and damaged people and wounded and injured people through severe reactions to the inoculations. I don't know if you were at the Parliament grounds, but I
Yeah, it
saw
was. Yeah.
normal people who were at that, like they were peaceful, but they were here to be seen and they were here to be respected and heard. And it's like they were nice and kind and caring for each other, but you just tap into their feeling of their internal rage that this shit is continuing and this is not stopping. This is so obscene. It's so, as an empath, it is so painful to see this all unfold. That is like scaring the shit out of people at every, like it's so offensive sense at all levels of my senses. It's offensive and it's very painful. And I know you would be in your nice balance and harmony, and then you would have gone to that community meeting and you would have drowned in that fear and terror, and that aggravation of just sheer chaos is so insane. You almost wanted to probably like rip off your skin to stop feeling the energy that was just pummeling you.
That's really interesting that you say that, because it's exactly how I feel when I feel too much energy, other people's energy, is I literally want to pull my skin. I literally want to rip it all away. And I've had to learn to ask my guides, and I hate asking, and I know that it's a challenge for me, but it's like, ask my guides, take it away, take it away. It's not mine. Take it away. Even if it is mine, take it away so I can function. And it's like we all have to do that so much more regularly now, as accept that some of us are going to receive everybody else's pain, and we have to be able to transmute that, you know?
Mm. You love to take from others and support others and empower others and heal others and love others and all that sort of stuff. And you want people to, accept your healing and your kindness and your graciousness and your open heart and your open house and your open mind, blah, 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 blah. But what's come out twice in this conversation is you acknowledging how hard it is to ask for help. And you've got a fucking fantastic team. Your team is like the A team, um, in all the best ways, unicorns and jazz hands. And I'm going to be rough and I'm going to be tough love here, my friend, and say you're failing them if you don't reach out to them to ask for help, because that's what they're there for.
Look, thank you for that, because I actually have come to that realization myself. And it's like I can't move forward without them, and I need them, and I need to trust them as much as they trust me. And
Yeah.
that's what it boils down to.
I had a cry today because I had this irrational fear that I was going to reach out to them and they weren't there. And that
Yeah.
actually terrified me, because so many humans and so many people, throughout life, have failed and not been there for me and rejected me and all this sort of stuff, and never been sort of, when I've needed them kind of things. I find it hard to ask for help from others, because I have had so many times where people have just not been able to help, and I've taken it personally, and I know it's all of my inner work, and I've empowered myself through it, and I honor that because it was supposed to empower me, and now I feel empowered, and now I've got this great relationship with my team. And now I'm noticing, and this is growing, so obviously this is more of my inner work as well, is that scare of reaching out to them and they've gone. Like, and I know it's not possible, because it's not possible, but I'm having to like heal my mindset and my reactions and my insecurities with that, because I think once we start relying on them and loving them and trusting them, the worst thing ever is that then suddenly that's been taken away from me.
It's a little bit too, though, Joe, about remembering that they've always been there. And it's like you say, it's like throughout my life, whenever the chips have been down completely, they have always been there. And it's like I know that you have to have that inner knowing that they will never leave. You might not hear them, but that's you blocking them, not them blocking
Mm.
you.
Yeah, I think my insecurities about it is that something happens to them, like, and I don't know what it would be, like nothing. Like they've never said, "I'm too busy for you." They've never like given me the cold shoulder. They've always been there, and I think I'm getting so used to them being there and so comfortable being there that my next kind of journey of this, and I feel very grateful, and I'm in deep gratitude every time that they're there. And they always say, "Yes, yes, yes, we're here, we're here, we're here." Like, hello, yeah, like we don't go anywhere. But it's just this irrational fear, and I just have to, and I know it's not. I don't have. It's not because, well, sometimes I swear, so I think sometimes they're going to divorce me. Like, I don't. I know I have not done anything to separate us or sever us, but there is just this right now at this moment. This is kind of what I'm going through, and I think it's just making me feel so much more grateful, to know, that's not possible, and to overcome this irrational fear. And sorry, this is not about me today. It's definitely about you. And
But the timing of this is good because I can tell you that even when all the chips were down and chaos was all around, I knew they were there. Even if I couldn't feel them, even if I couldn't get to them, you, it's just knowing that they're there. And that's the key. But you'll find that. You'll find that. You've got to have trust.
I do. I have absolute trust. And so there's like this is irrational insecurity, fear that I've got, which is just so silly because it's just this. I felt into the feeling of what if I did reach them and they weren't there. And so I felt that as if it was real, which is so strange. And I was having this conversation with this other woman today, about, I said something silly to her about her children being clones. And it's like, and then she had a dream about them being clones and processing it. And it's kind of like, what if even the silly scenarios that are not real or even true, but even that is triggering us to feel the range of emotions to overcome and to empower ourselves back to love?
That sounds so true. That resonates with me as being exactly that. We're going to be triggered in all kinds of ways. We're going to have a whole lot of, we don't have to go through the whole experience thing in full. As long as we fear it, that's enough for us to have to process it.
Well, we all got triggered feeling into you and thinking about us being here, even just, bringing people into your own home and they start stealing from you. I mean, I think everyone would feel like that's a piss take, like regardless of whether you're spiritual or not, like it's triggering everyone to feel those emotions themselves as if it is them, to then, come to the realization and the journey of the emotional range. God, did we just do what they asked us to do? But this is like, real life stories of you being on the old earth now.
Yeah, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. And that's the thing is that I'm so grateful that I've gone through this experience and it saves other people having to do this because they can actually be triggered by this talk and actually go through it and deal with it in a slightly calmer way. I'm all for it.
Tell me about the moment where you were the least calm.
Not at night. Night scared me. And especially if it started to rain, because was it going to happen again? Was it going to happen? Especially in that first week when we had no communications, living in a house by myself, closing up the doors, thinking, am I going to have to, where's my grab bag? Being prepared, where's my grab bag? Where's my gumboots? Can I get on the roof? The nights were really hard to be centered and to feel calm because it was dark and you couldn't see anything.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And so I remember the senses of when we were doing sessions about mastering old earth, where they would want to sleep during the day and be more awake at night. And so then their senses in their community was at night time, and
Yeah.
feeling more present and kind of coming together almost like around a fireplace. And that's when they would start sharing. And that's when they'd start entertaining each other with stories or, experiences and stuff. And that was their sharing time. And then at the daytime, when it was more comfortable to sleep and it wasn't so cold or whatever, it was kind of opposite world, isn't it? You sleep during the
And
day.
that, yeah, that feels totally right to me because you can cope with anything during the day, but when it's dark and you can't see,
Yeah.
um, and all the boogeymen come out and all your mind starts playing tricks because you're tired, you need to be Yeah, and I would just do cat naps throughout the evening, and then I'd try and have a little cat nap in the afternoon when when it was light, if I could, just because I knew. And I kind of feel it's changed my whole way I sleep now.
Yeah.
I don't need as much sleep as I thought.
Yeah.
Um, and it just changed everything.
What did you do did you always have running water?
Uh, there was water, but we were told, well, we didn't always know whether it was going to, how long we were going to have it for. Um,
Mhm.
I had already had some bottled water stacked away and some big tubs and stuff. So I used the water that I had and I filled up the bath um, so that if the water went out, that I would have something at least that I could help a few people for a few days with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were lucky we did still have water. Wasn't that always, I don't believe it was drinkable. I tried to drink it one day and it was pretty gross.
I am. I'm assuming you haven't listened to any of the sessions that have been going on, nor should you, because you're living it. But there was saying how we can, when we are questioning water, our senses become super, super enlightened, super sensitive to water, and intuitively, even just holding a cup near us with water in it, we can tell whether it is good for us or not.
Ah, that's handy. That's really good to know, actually. For me, instinctively, I just felt that I needed to go switch straight to bottled water. I knew other people that were just boiling the water or having it straight at the tap, and I just felt it wasn't the right thing for me. And I knew that I also needed to keep hydrated.
Mm.
That it was really important. We had some stinking hot days straight afterwards as well, and you'd walk outside, and if you're doing anything, you're just literally dripping
Ugh.
um, and the humidity was horrific. Um,
Now,
but yeah, I was
did you
sorry.
know, did you notice your appetite completely drop when you were in this heightened state?
Yeah, basically, and since then, I just even now, I don't, I have no desire to eat the way I used to. And that was an interesting thing too, was because all our gardens got wiped out. So even our home gardens got hammered. Um, so it was like, well, what are we going to eat and what are we choosing to eat? Supermarkets weren't there. Everything in the freezer had rotted. Um, the fridge was mank. Um, it was really interesting times, and I just wanted to avoid anything that was processed,
Mm.
anything at all that was processed. I didn't want to go near anything like that. I had to try and find something fresh or scavenge in my garden and find that couple of leaves of lettuce and a couple of grapes on the grapevine or something like that. It was very interesting.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking right now? Sprouts would have been so good.
Yes, yep, they would have been.
Is there anything I can send you?
Oh no, honey, look, honestly, I'm all good. I'm all good. I've gone and got some seeds and I've actually I'm getting some vegetables organized to put back in my garden. I just want to be self-sufficient and I just want to live simply. I've got everything I need, thank you.
I can send you my love and snot bubbles.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Snot bubbles especially.
I'll send them in an envelope, bubble
I'm
wrapped.
sure yeah, because the mailman's gonna love that.
A bio warfare, isn't it? Someone's snot.
Yeah, he'll be arrested shortly.
Well, seriously, some of these sessions, I think I'm about to go.
So I'll post your bail. You'll be fine.
Well, you know, if you find me. Yeah, bless, 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 bless. Okay, well, let's keep talking. Let's do regular sort of, I don't know, weekly somethings and just because I think people are so emotionally connected to you, they want to hear the full journey. And while we're still here, the full journey is your journey because you truly are on the old earth. Because it's going to be so fascinating what unfolds and how this play unfolds for not just our country but for the world. But right now we're more focused on our country, as we should be, right? Because we're here for it.
Yeah, exactly. And we've chosen to be here. we've chosen this location, we've chosen this part of the world to be here. So it's really important to feel the energies in this part of the world, because of the ripple effect, I think.
But it was just, remember us keep saying, gosh, like you've just come from, you just discovered mastering old earth, and like you just a powerhousing through these books, through the sessions. Your sessions were super advanced. And I was like, who is this girl? Like she is fabulous. And then boom, look what's happened. Like
Yeah,
it couldn't have been any faster and more perfect timing, to be honest, given now what we can see for you.
exactly. And like, I'm so very grateful that all this has played out the way it has, because I think that trying to go through this without the bigger perspective and without understanding of and acknowledging why I feel the pain that I've felt, and being able to transmute it, and being able to just look at things with a different lens, I think this would have been 100 times scarier.
Now, remind me, when did we explore the shift with you and didn't they say floods? They said
Yes,
some,
they said that floods, and it was going to come from the south. They said, and I thought that meant, we talked about it being Antarctica, and I still a possibility.
yeah, well, I mean,
But what
babe, you haven't
what
shifted yet.
what blew me away was the fact that this water to come to here was from the south.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely floods. Definitely floods.
And so, going through Dolores Cannon's books about HARP, weather engineering, earthquake creating, all this stuff back in one of her books from the 90s, early 80s, sorry, late 90s, 80s. I think it was Nostradamus Volume 2, I think. Um, just her research in this matter alone, we love her. She's not bullshit. She is, a researcher of truth. And for those people who are like, oh, there's no such thing as man-made weather systems, cute, cute, such a cute wish. Like, don't we wish that everything was, natural at this point? I mean, and we know physically what we have to go through for those lessons and experiences. We know it from a metaphysical perspective. This is all well organized. But we're supposed to wake up to the corruption of man,
Yeah.
and what has happened to this planet because of the corruption of man and woman. Not trying to be gendered. Don't want the men to hate us. But you know what I mean. So yeah, a marvelous
Mm.
time to awaken people to realize that this conversation and these events are well orchestrated and well aware of for those people. This isn't bullshit. This isn't conspiracy theories. This is the truth. If we're not denying anything. We're just saying, there's Mother Nature and then there is human nature, and both can be very dangerous.
Yeah. And before this, I used to feel very sad that I could see the manipulation going on in the skies, and I could see the manipulation going on in the governments and everything like, and it used to just make me sad
Mm.
and depressed, and feeling that. Now I'm a freaking warrior. It's like, okay, if this is going to happen, then what are we going to do? What are we going to do to collectively to keep ourselves safe, to keep our vibrations high? And what are we going to do? Is how do we come together? Because that's way more important. They can let them do their games. Let them go off and do what it is that we're going to protect ourselves emotionally and spiritually, so that basically, and physically when we need to, so that we are not um, affected by what they do.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, and what I keep hearing in sessions, people, is this year is the year they lose control. And
Yeah. Oh,
so, when you're the bully in the communities, when you are, when you think you are the leaders and the influencers and the top dogs and the controllers, and you start losing control over your favorite toy, do you go, okay, well, that's all right. You turn into a toddler. You start doing the most ridiculous things because you're having a tantrum. And what tantrums look like is, you're really stupid. And you expose yourself. You expose your maturity. You expose so much about your behaviors and your demeanors and your agendas. And so, bring it on, I say. Lose your minds, expose yourselves. I mean, this is part of, I'm not angry at them because they're playing that role. And
Mm.
so do it. Go for it, lose control, lose your frustrations, and then, let everyone awaken to this.
And that's what I feel is starting to happen. I mean, you can't go to the supermarket here without having someone talk about manipulation of the weather and things like this. We all know this was a man-made storm, and more people are, even if they don't believe it, they're willing to to listen to the discussion now. So more and more people are awakening because people are making mistakes.
Mm. Yes. And the thing is that, governments should have been there. I mean, did someone come to your house from civil? The people that you pay your rates to, did they come in to see how you're doing and if there was any insurance damage or anything like that? Did you see anyone official?
No, and of course, everybody's rates was due that week as well, so they did give us an extension of a couple of days to pay your rates.
Oh, fuck yourselves. Oh my.
So you may not have had power, but you got an extension to pay it. Bless.
Wow. Bless their kindness. Wow. Well, I mean, I love people like Chantal Baker, who did a big rally. She got all this money donated, full transparency. She hired helicopters with all this water. She showed everyone where the costs were and where it was all delivered. She didn't do lots of selfies with her giving charity. Like, she just was a hero and she just went in and helped. And like, I know there's so many people like her who have got the hearts of the world and and don't mind getting in, mucking in, shoveling, and breaking a sweat, trying to help people gain some sanity and some clarity into that house that was there that's got 2 stories of mud inside.
Yep, and another one, to be honest, I think was Zeb. I'm trying to, because yeah, pretty sure it's Zeb Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Zeb, she was part of the protest down in Wellington as well. Her
Yeah.
and her team, oh my Lord, humbling. They are up here doing the mahi every day, and eh, they blow me away. Zeb Jackson, yeah, shit on her and her team,
Yeah. And like,
just they bring
and
me to
so
tears.
it's heavenly, aren't they? This earth angels, because they just started recording footage of the protests. It's all they did. They showed
Mm.
from one camera angle what had happened. And by gosh, they got in a world of trouble, didn't they? They had so much trolls hating them because they were filming the events that showed police brutality to peaceful protesters. And
Yep. They were
like, oh,
constantly shut down on Facebook and constantly shut down everywhere else, and abused in the streets, and it was just amazing.
yeah, I keep getting fake accounts from Chantal on a social media platform pretending to be her, and then wanting me to invest in cryptocurrency. Quite cute, but it's kind of like you've made it when you get trolls being created under your name, but they will not stop. They don't need to
No,
stop. They are so aware and awoke, and they are normal citizens and they are honest citizens. They don't have an agenda. They're not getting paid for it. And they are holding real paid professional journalists to task. And I mean, I love Chantal Baker because she gets just as riled up as I do with when I see practitioners that aren't empowering themselves and their clients properly with their sessions. Like, you're getting paid for it, people. Come on, like, do the best you can. And she's the same with journalists who are not sharing the true truth as well. And when she gets on her little bandwagon, God, I love it because I think, oh, do I look this passionate too when I'm on my rampage?
well, look, and that's the thing, is that we've got some amazing people leading us. We've got some amazing examples, and we don't have to duplicate them. We don't have to replicate them. We just have to take what we can with the tools that we've got, and actually just be prepared to stand beside them. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many people that kind of want to copy and paste the same sort of stuff. And it's like, or you could just empower the person that obviously has a life contract to do that. Like, I've asked about Chantal Baker a few times through clients who are in New Zealand. And yeah, her role is profound, and we just can just so love her and support her, and with Jeb Jackson as well. They both have got different audience followers, or even the same. And we just love them because their passion's pure. They want to get the truth out there for people who generally are curious and interested and really want to understand. I remember saw this little video the other day where she was interviewing this couple and they were sharing their journey, and it was pretty horrific. And he honestly opened up and said, I did a crime last year. I'm on probation, and I had to wait 3 days to get the courts to allow me to come back home to help my family, because he has to work. So he works somewhere else, and so that's all part of the, it's a better paid job somewhere else in the country. So he goes there, and his bail conditions are there. He's doing his crime and paying his time, blah 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 blah, under whatever. I mean, yeah, he was very honest about it, but still had to wait through the court systems to allow him to change his bail conditions to then go home and help his elderly father and his stressed wife and the kids, to like help with their devastation. They had like a 3-story home, and it was almost completely flooded. I can't even comprehend that body of water.
And that's the thing, is that right in the centre of well, Hastings for sure, not touched at all. Napier, it's like, there's people here that haven't had any association with any of the floods or any people that have had flooded or whatever, and there's people out just a K away are completely devastated, and there's just there's parallels, and it's like this can't be left as a gap.
So unique. I still have, because it's such a huge, large area, I haven't seen the actual, like, a true map of the actual devastation, because I think it's beyond, it's just one, it's not even one region, it's so many regions, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's just, I'm just thinking about even just the distance between Napier and Hastings. It's still there's only 2 bridges left, and they're still there for essential workers. If you're trying to go to work and you live in the other town, it's a 2.5 hour journey now. It used to be 15 minutes. I haven't
Oh.
gone out there, but I've heard from people who've gone out there that it just the change is so profound. It's like a bomb site. It's
And
unrecognizable.
so are you seeing big corporations and big companies coming in and just donating heaps of products and supplies? I mean, are you seeing any companies doing that?
I haven't personally. I've heard a couple of murmurs about some companies that are doing that, but it seems to be mainly communities. It really does. I mean, I'm not just. There may be companies that are doing it. I haven't heard about them, but it feels to me like it's mainly communities. I'm hearing of people in Taranaki, all over the New Zealand, that are local communities getting together, getting everything in a truck and bringing it across, and that kind of thing seems to be more what I'm hearing about.
Because I'm just sort of thinking about Christchurch when we had that big devastation and over 100 people died. And I think I remember hearing that there were bread trucks just traveling all around, giving crates of bread to everyone on
Yeah.
repeat. And milk trucks were doing the same things. And,
I mean, it seems to be more local people. I mean, I know there's a guy, I can't remember his name now, I saw on Facebook. He's delivering milk and bread to places for free. He's been doing it now for 2 weeks. I know that in one area of Napier, when they were flooded, that I think it was a Goodman Fielder, I think I've got a bread thing here. They baked all night and dropped off them, and there was crates of bread in every corner for people, and was being handed out and things like that. So that is happening. I'm not close enough to some of those affected areas where I personally live to know, but I'm sure that that is going on.
Overwhelming, right? Like, and this is, I mean, because remember, the shift was all supposed to be this big shift on one kind of day, and it was going to be
Mm.
all around. And that would have been so, I mean, just like how you experience, I mean, it's still disorientating to understand that, I mean, for me, and I'm definitely for you, to understand the impact of it in its full totality, of like what happened. And like, it's still rich. But even then, we knew that there's just so much to be said about what we've heard in sessions versus how we're actually experiencing it. And Oh, this is supposed to be the softer version.
And recognizing too that it's not just the souls of the people that we know of, but it's all the animals. I mean, my garden went quiet. There was no birds for 2 or 3 days. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, all those birds that I feed, have they all perished?
Mm,
And it's all the little animals and things like that. And knowing that the farm animals and all the things that are in those, particularly those affected areas, it's like, and I just wonder how many thousands and thousands of souls have actually gone.
yeah.
How does a bird stand up in that horrific weather?
Oh, I mean, I mean, what is this life contract and purpose of a bird being there now to then not be there now? And like,
Mm,
and all the fish and all of the, oh, I mean, it's just mind blowing. I mean, we just think humans, but when you think about all aspects of all souls here, it's
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 huge.
it's very intensive, and yet it still bothers me that when I look, if I pluck up all my courage, and I hold on to my inner peace as much as possible, if I go onto like a mainstream news media outlet here in New Zealand, I'm hearing about nonsense overseas, and I'm not hearing about the absolute emergency that I know is happening to thousands and thousands of people in my country.
Yeah. Yep. And it's fascinating the game that they're playing. It's like, oh, this happened. Now the latest news from across the ditch is such and such.
So and
It's like,
so's yeah, so and so's boyfriend who's famous, maybe thinking about a new Ferrari. It's like I don't give a fuck about that shit. And it's almost obnoxious. It's kind of like
yeah,
and
it's
like
offensive.
it is. And if you because I remember like so and people saying because people would call like outside the region to their family and friends, and they had the phone and they're like, yeah, I'm stuck on my roof, and this one woman was saying they only got the support 9 hours after being stuck on the roof, like a tiny little ledge outside in the exposed. You're wet, you're stressed, and you don't know whether this water is going to come, and how can you swim against this very fast current? Like your mind is pacing your and racing. And and she said she really believes that it was because of all of her friends and family constantly harassing the services of the police, and this, and all of the official things that kind of made them. But what pisses them off is that they know that all their friends and family just constantly kept ringing and ringing and ringing all of our emergency services, and when they finally did 8 hours later, they were told, oh no, we only just got this information now, we've been doing nothing all day. We've been waiting to find out where we're supposed to go. We were told to stay put until we were given directions. And for 8 hours, they, had nothing to do. And they are
The
emergency.
8 hours on the roof, scared, tired, exhausted, emotionally stressed, strung out, with animals, with
Mm-hmm,
children, with older
mm-hmm.
people, exactly. And what about the people who were doing that? They had nobody that was ringing the police. What about the people that had no one, that basically might just be a couple that were just living here but didn't have a huge circle of either friends that were affected or nobody from outside the region that could actually make those calls?
I think,
It just breaks your heart.
yeah, yep. I did hear the rumors that there was thousands of bodies that they were seeing. And I was like, human bodies? Are you seeing thousands of human bodies? And there was no footage. But then, as I said, everything was censored. Everything was
Um,
censored.
and I've heard, I mean, rumors, you get rumors, but I've heard that the body bag, they had to bring in more body bags and they set up a morgue at the port. Now, why would they do that if there was only 9 or 10 people and all the bodies have gone to Wellington? And I talked to a family member of the little girl that tragically passed, and the media just hounded the family, just hounded them.
Oh, I didn't hear that story at all, at all. I think I've tried to avoid any emotional experiences to it. But I did hear one man who slept on his couch, and his wife was killed in their bed. And it took him hours to dig to find her body. And as soon as he found the body, the police stepped in and said, "No touching. This is a crime Scene, get out of here. And
Yeah.
he was like, I'm gonna hug my wife. I'm gonna be there. And they robbed him and made him feel like he could have just murdered her and then just, just coincidentally used the whole, our house got massively slammed by this big mudslide as a just a convenient way to, hide the crime.
And it's very similar to how people weren't allowed to be with people when they passed during COVID as well. It's the same playbook. It's so tragic that they're
It's
doing this, but
it's
they are.
inhumane. It's inhumane, right? That I mean, that would be
Yeah.
not being too dramatic, but oh, it's triggering all emotions. They're there for the taking.
Yeah, I know, and it's like trying to, well, not trying, but acknowledging those lower emotions and feeling the anger, feeling the pain, feeling the sadness, and then going, but I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to go back to love because that is where I reside, and that is where I want to be, and that is where I'm of the most benefit to others.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's it, right? That's what we're teaching the collectives at a conscious level, how to empower ourselves back to love. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely, have that self-indulgence or frustration, anger, all of those lower emotions because they're real. They're not, you're not just creating them out of nothing. You have to feel it all to heal it all. And you're not failing if you're feeling it. You're in the process and the journey of healing it.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't feel like you're healing, even if it feels like you end up back in the same place, then it feels like it's not getting deeper each time, it's actually getting shallower because you are actually processing it without realizing it.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It's just everything's significant, everything's purposeful, but just, be kinder to ourselves. We're not failing at anything. We are exploring and healing from everything. Failing, I think, would be completely oblivious to the corruptions and the manipulation and not opening up your door to the neighbors and not checking out your neighbors and being just so focused on is that Ferrari he's going to buy red or blue? I hope that the girlfriend is happy with his choices, like because right now the mainstream media are trying to, distract us with other nonsense. And I
Yeah.
do feel like we're going to have a lot more events that are going to take the pressure off and the attention off the sympathy in our minds and our hearts and our generosity to those who are, in your predicament and experiencing, which is then just means that your community can truly just heal still and empower themselves still at that level without having
Yeah.
to rely on others because others really aren't always going to be there.
Well, and they're going to be busy with their own dramas that are happening there. But like you say, when you're awake, you're awake. So it's basically once you're woken, there is no going back. You're going to see everything. You're going to feel everything, and all you can do is just take one step forward. And if you pause for a minute or a little while on the balls of your feet, it's okay. Just take the next step when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. All growth is beautiful.
Mm.
And holy shit, do you think we should have like a holiday lifetime after this? I mean, I'm kind of looking for like easy. Do you
At the moment, I'm feeling so fired up that I'm ready to go and slay dragons. I really am.
hey,
I'm finally back at that space. Like I said, it's taken a couple of weeks, but I'm really blessed to be here. I'm just so grateful that I can feel this way. I know there's a lot of other people still hurting.
but I mean, and that's their journey, and they have to feel it deeply to then be motivated to let it go because it's just too.
Yeah.
They're going to get burnt out. They are adrenaline. They're at that point of adrenal fatigue. When do you reckon it hit you?
I reckon when the power came back on after a week, kind of hit me then, and because then it was like you could see the rest of the world was still going on. It was like, hold on, why am I still feeling this chaos? And then it was overwhelming. Um, so yeah, and I
Yes.
think it's been the last couple of days that I've really started to feel that I've found my groove again.
Oh, you're amazing. Yeah, I remember deaths in the family. And I went to the supermarket and I was like, how dare everyone still be just minding their own business? Like it was like, holy shit, humanity is cold because don't they know what's going on for us? Like it was just it's intensive. It's intensive timing.
Yeah. And it is recognizing that we don't know what's going on for everybody else. Unless we're talking to them or unless they're willing to share, we just don't know. I could be standing next to somebody in a queue at the supermarket, and I don't know. They could have lost everything.
Mm, yeah. And I mean, is there places where for the homeless to go and live and be, be sheltered and things like that?
Yeah, there's still some civil defence places open. Um, a lot of people have just gone to family where they can.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just communities helping communities really. So yeah, there are a few displaced people.
I did see
And
they
a few,
I did see they tried to limit the volunteers by saying you must be completely up to your mandated vaccinations and be rep tested every day. I mean, they were making it really hard for the the awoken.
honestly,
Yeah.
it was just like, are you freaking serious? But there's just other ways to do it. I mean, that's exactly it. There's other ways of doing it.
It-
And you've got to be, and I found, to my social media has been the place that is where the communities are. On the community pages, there's some extremely well organized people that you can find places to go and help.
yeah, I love that. I love that because isn't that what it's all about? Is letting the systems that are corrupt, play their stupid games, but then create new unity within the systems that are going like just basically ignoring the official words.
Exactly that. I mean, technology has been great. I mean, that was one thing that everybody's got so reliant on. Technology was great because these people set up this website, and over 2 or 3 days, I mean, it'd be going before I had power and stuff like that, but over the 2 or 3 days that I finally connected in with it, the set up, the systems, the outpouring of love, the sharing, the willingness, it just it, it expanded hugely, and it's a well-oiled machine. It works really well, and it has no government input.
So yeah, so it
And
does
it's
work.
helping so many.
It does
Yeah,
work,
it's
and
helping
it's
so
it's fully for the people, and it's fully transparent. Any money is always accounted upon, and it's always well spent versus the offensive things that our government spends money on is obscene. And so yeah, these things need to be cut off, right? And what was it? Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, because I can feel the community healing. But when they are at that point where they sort of feel like they've cleaned and cleared, then then they're going to start. Just there's another wave of emotions,
yeah.
um, and there's so you're still fragile healing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do to help you. If you want any sessions to be able to get clarification, to know what to do forward and what to expect, I'm here for it. So,
Thank
mm,
you. Yeah, look, honestly, you're totally right. I think everybody's gonna get tired at the moment. Everybody's still willing to be helpful and stuff like that, but people are gonna get to the stage where they're just gonna go, we just want everything to be the way it was, and we just want it normal, and we just don't want to have to queue to drive across a bridge, and how secure is that? What happens if it rains again? So things are gonna happen. So
mm.
I will be definitely in touch.
Okay, my friend. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Oof, big times, big times. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.